Faith amid the pandemic. The past year has been especially hard on churches and their congregants, both spiritually and financially. COVID-19 was the final straw for some Milwaukee churches, but others say the pandemic is helping congregations position themselves for success in the future. Ben Jordan gives us an in-depth look.
Christ Memorial Lutheran Church on Milwaukee's north side used to be one of the city's largest churches.
At one point, we had 2,500 members in the early 1960s, and we're down to less than 100 now.
James KROEMER has been a pastor here for 3 decades. He's now preparing for his last sermon on Easter Sunday. He says declining membership and diminished funds amid the coronavirus pandemic leave the church unable to make ends meet.
Tried many ways to invite people, make people feel welcome, but nothing seemed to work.
KROEMER says Christ Memorial applied for the federal Paycheck Protection Program, receiving more than $20 grand to keep 3 people employed. KROEMER says the relief only delayed the inevitable.
COVID, of course, was the final blow.
Abiding Savior Lutheran Church is also closing after deciding not to apply for the same forgivable loans. Pastor Dean NATTERSTAD says a lifeline would have been a lost cause.
We're not attractive to certain communities, peoples, and then the other is just the loss of faith.
And it's not just a Wisconsin problem. According to a Gallup poll, a record low 50% of people say they belong to a church, synagogue, or mosque. Of those members, Pew Research says just 1 in 3 attend services at least once a week. The younger the generation, the less likely people are willing to attend. While the financial stresses of the pandemic have been difficult for just about every industry, the Wisconsin Council of Churches says just a small percentage of congregations are calling it quits.
Between 1% and 3% of the churches in their jurisdictions, and it's mostly the churches that were having trouble before the pandemic.
Reverend KERRI Parker says one common denominator is whether churches are embracing technology when the pandemic is forcing them online.
It's the churches that didn't have any sort of electronic option that have been struggling the most, those who counted on passing the plate on Sunday morning as the primary means of giving.
But possibly even more consequential is the decision not to offer virtual services at a time when in-person worship is largely limited or prohibited. Both Abiding Savior and Christ Memorial Lutheran say they didn't have the means.
Good morning.
Greater Mount Zion Missionary Baptist says its virtual presence has helped them grow their audience.
Because now we're able to reach outside of the state.
Pastor KENNETH CUTLER says the most surprising positive to come out of this pandemic is the realization that younger members are buying into online worship more than anyone else.
It reaches those 20-year-olds who have kind of, felt that they don't need to come and congregate inside with worshipers, which I would disagree with them. But if we can reach them virtually, I think that's even better.
Pastor Cutler says even when it's safe to return to in-person services, their virtual presence will remain to serve those who find it more convenient. Reporting on Milwaukee's north side, Ben Jordan, TMJ4 News.